If you're a fan of sunbathing, listen up. There are some troubling new findings on sunscreen. A Consumer Reports study shows nearly a third of sprays and lotions tested failed to deliver the SPF protection that was promised on their labels. Joining me now, Dr. Darrell Rigel, former president of the American Academy of Dermatology and current dermatologist to the New York Yankees, no less. It's great to have you here. Are you surprised by this?
Not really. There have always been problems with testing of sunscreen. The FDA has some specific tests, and if they're not run exactly like that, you'll get different numbers. The real problem with sunscreen is that people underapply it. Typically, people only put 25 to 50% of the rated amount for testing on, so they're not getting the protection that shows on the bottle for them.
Well, I know Consumer Reports created a little bit of a kerfuffle because they tested in a slightly different way from the federal government. Even so, CR is typically pretty rigorous in their testing of most products. And I have to say, it just doesn't look like the promises are all there. And I want you to comment on this. The number one pick was a product called La Roche-Posay's, I can't even pronounce it. Anthelios 60 melt-in sunscreen milk. It's also the most expensive. It costs $36 for 5 ounces. Does this mean that you have to really spend up for sunscreen?
Well, the Anthelios is a great product. It really is. It gives good protection. It has a special ingredient that's not available mostly in the U.S., so it is available in this. So it is special.
What's the product?
It's called Mexoryl, which is an agent that's only available and not officially approved broadly across the U.S. But there are other products out there that are equally as good that don't cost as much. So it's not just the price per se that makes a difference. It's the quality of the manufacturing.
That makes sense. So what I know we can't necessarily believe the labels, but what SPF is best?
We recommend typically minimum SPF 30. I try to get my fair-skinned patients to get at least 50 because people underapply for those same reasons.
Yeah, you got to fill up your whole palm, right?
It takes a golf ball size or a shot glass size to do your whole body. And most of the sunscreen tubes are 3 ounces because that's what you could take in the airport. So 3 shots of that, if you did your whole body, to be done. So people tend to skip. Nobody uses up.
Nobody uses all of that.
Sure.
When does sunscreen expire? Because I keep it in my closet for years sometimes.
Well, that's a funny question. Theoretically, with a 3-ounce bottle, you should use it up and it should never be around that long. But most sunscreens are pretty good unless you put them in a really hot environment, like you leave them in your car where they get baked. That breaks them down. But beyond that, they usually last a couple of years pretty well.
Couple of years. Now, you mentioned there might be some cheaper alternatives out there to pick. What would those be?
Well, again, a lot of the other products that are great, the Neutrogena products, a number of products that you could get along those lines are excellent. But
is that what the Yankees use?
I can't say.
All right. Understood. Dr. Rigel, thanks for joining us tonight. Great information. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.
My pleasure, Gerri.